Have you ever heard the saying that a bad day of hunting is better than a good day at work? We have, and it happened to us recently. Let me tell you the story of what happened on our worst day of hunting we've ever had. This happened in West Virginia in early November of 2022. So, to give you guys a little bit of the setup, we have 70 acres, my family, that we lease, and then across the road there's another 240 acres that the rest of the group leases. And that group is my brother-in-law and then a bunch of kiddos. I call them kiddos. They're teenagers from southern Holmes County, Ohio. They're Amish kids and great friends. We've known them now for a couple years, and we just have a blast down here. So we come down, we go hunting, and Joe, my brother-in-law, had just gotten married last year, just before deer season started. And so he didn't have time with getting married and everything. He didn't have time to shoot his compound bow, so he bought himself a crossbow. Well, he came down here. Thought I see a deer down there. I don't. He came down here hunting with the crossbow that day, and the first thing that happened that went wrong was he was in his tree stand. He had a doe come in. He was going to shoot at the doe. He shot, and the arrow never made it to the doe. He was shooting down pretty steep angle. He said it looked like it was shooting 1.5 feet low. He's like, well, this was the second deer he had missed this year. The other deer was in Ohio. He thought he just, shot low, messed up and shot low. Well, it happened again. He's like, it's got to be his scope. It's got to be off. His sight is off. So he got down from the tree stand. He had a target point in his backpack. He dug it out, and he picked out a stump, and he was going to target shoot at the stump. And as he shot, his crossbow string literally tore and flew apart and slapped him across the lips as he shot. And that arrow never made it to the log. So he was pretty disgusted. He said if he would have been near the lake, which there's a lake near this on this property we hunt, he said that crossbow would have probably ended up in the lake. But anyway, he was done hunting for the day because he didn't have a bow to use anymore. About the same time, one of the other guys at the other end of the property shot at a decent buck, nice 8-point buck. He said he was following a doe, and he didn't have the greatest shot, but he shot anyway. And he thinks he hit him back and high. And he had blood, I guess, down one bank and up the other, and then lost it. So basically that one got away. He doesn't think he hit vitals. He'll probably be fine, but basically wounded that nice buck. That happened about the same time as Joe's crossbow. The next thing that happened, one of the guys at the north end of the property had taken some corn along to put out. It's legal to bait on private property in West Virginia. And so he was going to take that corn along and put it out for deer, for basically bait him for gun season. That was coming up soon. So he called us. It was raining. Over lunchtime it was raining. So we were down at the vehicle, and he called us and says, hey, I'm ready for my corn at the north end if you guys want to bring it up there. We normally park at the south end. So we loaded up, and there was 5 of us, myself, Joe and I, my son, Joe, and 2 of the Amish kids. We go up to the north end with the vehicle, the trailer, and my 4-wheeler and the corn. And the Amish kid says, hey, we'll offer to take the corn out for him. So they took a load on the 4-wheeler, took it out in the woods, came back, got the second load, and then they told us, you guys are welcome to go hunting. we'll just drive the four-wheeler down to the south end when we're done. So we drove back down to the south end where we park, and we got started to get ready to go back out for the afternoon sit. And here they called us. It says, we had a little mishap. The four-wheeler is upside down in the lake. Like, what in the world just happened? So my first thought was, well, are you guys all right? And they says, yeah, we're fine. We jumped off. We're not hurt. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess that's a good thing, but how did that happen? So what happened, they were riding the four-wheeler down along the side of the lake on the road. And the road is curvy and a little bit of hills, and I guess they gunned it as they went around the curve going up a hill, and at the top of the hill it was curved again to the left, and they got their right front tire or wheel off the road, and because it was raining, everything was wet and slippery. They got off and basically lost control, couldn't get back on the road, and I guess he panicked and accidentally hit the throttle as well when he panicked, and the guy that was sitting on the back jumped off before they got into the brush, but it was a drop off from the road about 4 to 6 feet and then sloped down, and that slope was covered with brush and little trees and then a few big trees, and then another 6 to 8 foot drop, pretty steep, right before the lake. And they went through that brush, and the driver jumped off before he got to the lake. He said he landed about 15 feet from the lake, and as the four-wheeler went down over that last steep part, it flipped and landed upside down in the lake in about 1.5 feet of water. So luckily it wasn't too deep, and right there, and luckily they weren't hurt. But they told me I can share this part of the story as long as I don't mention their names. So I'm not mentioning the Amish kids' names. Obviously they're probably not used to driving a four-wheeler a lot, and I think they got off the road, just panicked, and lost control and ended up in the lake. But anyway, I do have a little bit of footage of us getting it out. We ended up using some ratchet straps, getting it flipped. I see a deer down there. Is that a buck? I'm hunting. I don't think it's a buck, it's a doe, I think. Or a little deer. It's not a buck. I only have a buck tag. Probably heard me talking up here. I don't know, it's pretty breezy. Might not have heard me. That's the first deer I've seen all day. Let me take a quick look. He's going down over the bank, but I took my binoculars off, and yeah, it was definitely not a buck. I think it was a doe or a fawn. So anyway, back to my story. I'm gonna watch a little more in case there's a buck behind that deer or something. It's down the bank quite a ways here. Anyway, we had the neighbors, David and Ricky, real friendly neighbors down here. They've helped us out numerous times now. They came over, brought a big long rope, and had their friend actually on the road with a vehicle, Wrangler or something, and they pulled with the rope, pulled the four-wheeler up the bank after we flipped it, and then winched it with the winch on the four-wheeler until our battery died on the four-wheeler. Using the rope to pull up the four-wheeler that's down over the bank. coming.
Oh yeah. Oh my.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
We got a tree in the way. He isn't going anywhere now.
We're on that kid. Yeah.
We got it out. Got a little bit of footage of that. And they told me the Irish kids told me I can share this footage as long as I don't, again, like I said, don't mention their names. So, and I'm sharing this to show you guys what all happened, what happened that day. We're still only about halfway through. So, we got the four-wheeler back up on the road. We couldn't start it because our battery was dead. I had a little jumper battery, and we had put that on to run the winch, and that one was dead. And we didn't have jumper cables along. So we didn't try to start it, but we could tell the one tail light was broken, or the plastic piece by the tail light was broken, not the light itself. And we obviously knew there was water on it somewhere. We didn't know if it's going to start or not, but we pushed it onto the trailer, and we drove down to the south end, parked it, and went hunting. Well, since Joe's crossbow was broke, he couldn't hunt, so we decided he can come with me, and he can video me, be my cameraman. Because where I was going up to the honey top stand, and it's a ladder stand with a hang-on in the same tree. And he's like, yeah, sure. He's never done it before, but he said he'll give it a shot. And so that happened. That was next. And here's what happened on that hunt.
After an adventure like that, it's time to go shoot a big buck. Actually, we're going this way.
Pretty steep going up through here.
Well, it's the afternoon of November the 12th. Just got into the stand. It's 20 after 3. It's stopped raining now. And hopefully the deer will move tonight. Sat this morning on this stand till about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Didn't see a single deer. Bruh. Were you on him?
Yeah.
Good deal.
I got the shot.
Huh?
I got the shot.
Sweet. That's a decent 8-pointer. That was calling him in too. Like that was, what, maybe 5 minutes after I rattled.
Where'd he come in on?
Huh?
Where'd he come in on?
He just came walking across. Like right where he ran back to. Could you tell where I hit? He was whirling already.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe a little high up front.
Okay.
Look at it again, maybe.
Gotcha. I was guessing the yardage. I knew the corner at the where Lewis shot his was 24 yards. That's like he's a little over 30, I think. So I held for just like 35-ish, but
You should probably get right at 30. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah.
because he was, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think the arrow went all the way through.
I could tell.
Not sure.
Maybe he was already whirling.
Yeah.
Hit him. So, yeah, it hit shoulder blade, I'm pretty sure.
You think so? That's loud. Wow. What time is it? 4:50. The only deer I've seen all day from the stand.
Call it in.
Called him in. Grunted and rattled. 5 minutes later, he comes walking across. He was almost downwind.
Yeah.
Like if he would have gone another 10 yards, he would have had our wind. So I was like, I better shoot or he's gonna get our wind. But he's definitely hit good, I think.
Yeah.
Let's review the footage on there. Oh, we just realized Joe forgot to hit record or didn't hit it right or something. It was not recording, so at least he got to watch it on the screen. First time running the big camera, so hey, it happens. Well, I think I should have it on my Tacticam on my bow. I have a card reader in my pocket. I think I'm gonna see if I can put it on my phone and see where I hit. I would say it was a little forward because he was already whirling by the time the arrow got there. Bruh. There we go. So we just got down. We're gonna go look right away because it's getting dark pretty quick. Looked at the footage on my phone from the Tacticam. Slowed it down and zoomed in. Looks pretty good. If anything, might have hit shoulder blade, but we got good penetration, so I think we're good. When I last seen him going, he was way out there to the left. Yeah. Just found first blood. Good little ways. It's hard to see, but there's a little bit of hair and there's blood. They might have stopped here. There's blood. Well, as you guys can see, Joe forgot to hit record. The buck was hit, I thought, pretty decent. By looking at the Tactacam footage, it looked like a decent hit, but the buck was ducking and basically whirling before the arrow got there. And it was high and it was forward. So we tracked him for about 200 yards, and it was getting dark. Everything was wet from the rain at noon, and it was really hard to find blood because of everything being wet. And we did not have a ton of blood, but we had decent blood. And it was getting dark, and then Jonai, who was hunting, my son, who was hunting down in the lower field, called me and says, "Hey Dad, I just seen your buck cross the field down here." And obviously was very lame, and he said he doesn't think he went very far. He crossed the field and he saw where he went into the brush, and right where he went in, there's only a little bit of brush, and then there's a creek with a drop off, and then the other side, a little bit of brush, and then the road, and then across the road is just a tiny little strip of trees, and then pasture. And we went down there. It was like, well, we're not going to track him all the way down there. If he saw him down there, we're just going to go down there. So Joe and I got down, went down the main path to the field, and I get out my thermal camera that I just recently got, plugs into my phone, my iPhone, and we decided we're going to go see if we can find this buck, probably over near the creek somewhere. And Jonah was over there thinking he's close to where he went into the brush. He was trying to get another shot at him, or finish him off, or see him, or at least something. And by the time we got over to Jonah, it was pretty much dark. I mean, it was dark. But with the thermal camera, we saw that there was a deer to our left, up probably 80 yards to 100 yards away, up near the entrance of the field. There was a deer, and we saw him on the thermal camera, and then he took a few steps and bedded down, and I thought it looked like a buck. And he was 100 yards away, give or take, but we had the bow, we couldn't shoot with a gun, and I felt that was probably my buck. I felt like we probably went through the brush and came out up there and laid down at the edge of the field and is watching his back trail. So that was my thought. So we decided we're going to see if we can sneak on this deer with the crossbow and get another shot on him, finish him off, if he's still alive by the time we got there. So Joe and I crossed the creek, went up the road, up the other road, got to our vehicle, and then came in through the main entrance of the field, because this buck was just around the corner of the main entrance. We felt we could, being everything was wet, we could probably sneak pretty close. Well, we did, and Joe and I had kept the thermal camera for his phone with him down where we left him. Joe and I got close. Joe had a bright headlight. He shone the light. I was ready with the crossbow, and I was like, that's not the same deer. He was 20 yards away, just bedded there at the edge of the field. I'm like, that's a smaller buck, pretty sure. So Joe just sat there with his light on the buck. I walked over, wanted to get him to stand up and walk or run to make sure he's not lame, make sure it's not the same buck. And he finally stood up, slowly trotted off, but he was not lame. He's totally fine. So that's not my buck. So we went back down to where Joe and I saw him cross the field, and we found the trail he went in. We found the blood, and we saw he crossed the creek, went up the other bank, crossed the road, and went up the bank on the other side of the road, which was the neighbor's property. But that property only has a little bit of trees there. I mean, just a narrow strip along the road there, up the bank and just a little bit on top. And we felt he's probably not gonna stay there. And like I said, it was pasture after that. The nearest woods he would have gone to would have been turned left and come up here to our 30-acre piece, which is where I'm hunting right now. So we decided we're gonna go home, and while we were doing all that, we realized Joe somehow lost the GoPro yet too. He had the GoPro with him when we were making that stalk on that bedded buck after dark, and all of a sudden he didn't have the GoPro anymore. But he was able to backtrack his tracks from the stalk, walking over to Joe and I. Somewhere there he found it, so that was good. But long story short, Joe's crossbow broke. The four-wheeler flipped into the lake. The two nicest bucks we saw all day were wounded. Both were wounded. Mine and the other one. And we lost the GoPro. We found that again, luckily. And Joe forgot to hit record on the big camera. All of that in one day. The following day, it was Sunday. We went to church. After church, we got home, we ate lunch. And then Barbara and I, my wife, we drove all the way back down to West Virginia, 3-hour drive, almost 3 hours. And we made another search for the buck on the 30 acres where we felt he probably went. And we could not find him. We checked kind of the top of the ridge where most of the cover is. We had the thermal camera and we checked, and nothing there. The blood was gone. But during Sunday, during the day, everything dried off and we could not find no blood anymore. But then we checked all the ravines and all the creeks that we thought he might be at, and we absolutely couldn't find him. So I feel it probably wasn't a vital shot, didn't hit any vitals, and hopefully he survived and heals back up and gets back on his feet. But Jonah said he was pretty lame when he went across the field, like he just barely could go anymore. So I don't know, but that one got away. But we made our best effort to try to find him. So that was the end of the worst day of hunting we've ever had. Luckily, in the evening, two of the guys from the north end across the road did get deer, so we did end up taking 2 deer home that night, a small buck and a doe. So a little bit of good happened that day, but obviously it was, we was hunting. We were out and about in the outdoors, and we enjoyed that part, but we were like, we better get home that night before we hit a deer on the road yet with the vehicle or something. It was just crazy. But anyway, thanks for listening to my story, and hopefully you guys never have a day like that. And if you do, or if you have in the past, I guess, leave it in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, and also make sure you subscribe, because we got a ton more videos coming after this one, including the hunt we're on today here in West Virginia, which is firearm season now. So just be careful when you drive your four-wheeler. Don't lose control and flip it into the lake. Oh, we did fix the four-wheeler then. We took it home, we put it inside, dried it off. We put it in a heated building that night, and we put a battery charger on, charged the battery. And the next day we tried to crank it, it wouldn't crank. Took the spark plug out, and it cranked over, and water came out the spark plug hole and the exhaust, which was not a good sign. And there was water and like oil or gas in the tank area, the holder area where the air filter's at. We drained that out, cleaned the air filter, and we checked the oil, and there appeared not to be any water in the oil. Oil looked nice and clean, so luckily for that. But anyway, put the spark plug back in, cranked it for maybe, 30 to 45 seconds, and it popped right off, and it has been running nice ever since. Put a few screws in a bracket deal over where that piece of plastic broke for the tail light, and it's good as new. I mean, Obviously there's a few screws in it, but we don't care. So it works. Just a couple hour or two of labor, and I told the Amish kid that was driving, I says, I'm not gonna charge you anything for that. I mean, it's as long as I can use this footage and tell the story and put it on YouTube. And he's like, all right, sounds like a deal. Just don't mention my name. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. It is the afternoon here of Black Friday, and it's getting time to have the deer moving, so hopefully we'll have a big buck come through and we can put a buck down yet. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.